Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. We're continuing our reading of these Hadiths, and it has been very informative for our understanding concerning theology and religious studies, and also making me understand what it means to consider oneself a Muslim, making ourselves familiar with the literature thereof. We're continuing, we were dealing with patience, okay? And we were dealing with number 30, Suaib's story about a young man who used to work for, I guess he's going to go meet a monk, and he's like gotten beaten by a magician. So that's where we are. We'll continue there. He complained about this to the monk, who said to him, "When you feel afraid of the magician, say, 'Members of my family detained me.' And when you fear your family, say, 'The magician detained me.' It so happened that there came a huge beast, and it blocked the way of the people." Okay, that's interesting. So, some type of creature. And the young man said, "I will know today whether the magician or the monk is better." He picked up a stone and said, "O Allah, if the way of the monk is dearer to you than the way of the magician, bring about death to the animal, so that the people be able to move about freely." Now, so this beast, why does it have to be a magician, I wonder? Why can't it just be a soldier, a hunter, just come and kill the animal? He threw that stone at it and killed it, and the people began to move about freely. Okay, so notice this. A stone. He chucked a stone at it, knocked it dead. He then came to the monk and told him the story. The monk said, "Son, today you are superior to me. You have come to a stage where I feel that you would be soon put to a trial. Soon put to a trial. And in case you are put to trial, do not reveal me." Don't reveal me. Why? That young man began to heal those born blind and the lepers, and he, in fact, began to cure people from all kinds of illnesses. When a courtier of the king who had gone blind heard about him, he came to him with numerous gifts. Okay, so this courtier obviously wants to have a remedy for his blindness. What kind of gifts did he bring? Let's see. "If you cure me, all these things will be yours," he said. "I myself do not cure anyone. It is Allah, the Exalted, alone who cures. And if you affirm faith in Allah, I shall also supplicate to Allah to cure you." Aha! Notice this. So it's not about the bribery. It's not about the payments. It's about the faith. You become part of that faith, and you declare for God, and then someone who has been granted an ability by God will use it to heal you of your ailment. This courtier affirmed his faith in Allah, and Allah cured him. He came to the king and sat by his side, as he used to sit before. The king said to him, "Who restored your eyesight?" And he said, "My Rabb." Oh, that's my maker, right? Thereupon he said, "Do you have another Lord besides me?" He said, "My Rabb, and your Rabb is Allah." So the king kept torturing him until he revealed the young man. The young man was thus summoned, and the king said to him, "Oh boy, it has been conveyed to me that you have become so much proficient in your magic that you cure the blind and the lepers, and you do such and such." Aha! So, proficient in magic. So it reminds you of the story of Pharaoh and with his courtiers, where he assumed he could just hire and use his earthly power to overcome Moses, and then Moses, when, taking down that dynasty by totally destroying their slave economy, showed that God's power is superior, that it's the will of Allah, and what is magic compared to the will of Allah. So here it'd be the same thing, is that he's telling this young man who just said his Rabb made him have the ability and stuff like that, oh, you are so proficient in this skill, but it's not that he's proficient, it's that he's been granted the ability, even if he is proficient in that ability. Thereupon he said, "I do not cure anyone. It is Allah alone who cures." and the king took hold of him and began to torture him until he revealed the monk. Now notice this. This king is very adamant. Notice this. It's like this power who's supposed to be doing something good, he's in a position where he could do great things for his empire. And instead he's wasting his time torturing somebody. The monk was summoned, and it was said to him, "You should turn back from your religion." But he refused. The king sent for a saw, placed it in the middle of his head, and cut him in 2 parts that fell down. Then the courtier of the king was brought forward, and it was said to him, "Turn back from your religion." He too refused, and saw was placed in the midst of his head, and he was torn in 2 parts. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is it's pretty like, if you ever seen a hog done that way, it's very weird. But there's something in that it's down the middle. It's something, think about that, just right, there's something there. And then, because when you butterfly something, cross spit, I think we call it, when you cross spit a chicken and you flap it out, it looks pretty creepy. But here it's like, it's right down the center, and then you kind of, it's like, think about the way in which the body is falling too. Like the way in which you fall forward. There's like honor if you fall forward. But here it's like a little bit more gruesome and cruel on the part of the king, because he's doing it in a very dissective type of way. Almost a sort of medical way, right? Like flaying is a way. There's something different about somebody who does like a medical form of what they would call, this form of torture. And you think about how these people, they are also pretty strong. I mean, even though they're getting tortured, it's like to endure such a thing, and in the end that comes, it's like, wow, really makes you think. Then the boy was sent for, and was said to him, "Turn back from your religion." He refused, and then the king handed him over to a group of his courtiers, and said to them, "Take him to such and such mountain. Make him climb up that mountain, and when you reach its peak, ask him to renounce his faith." Notice this, renounce his faith. It's a renunciation, and it's a bad thing, right? In most religions, you have to affirm it, maintain it, and enlighten yourself. But to renounce it under penalty is something that is amplified in a lot of different literature throughout the world. So this common issue is also here in these hadiths, which is pretty cool. If he refuses to do so, push him to his death. So they took him and made him climb up the mountain, and he said, "O Allah, save me from them in any way you like." And the mountain began to shake, and they all fell down dead, and that young man came walking to the king. Okay, the mountain. So there's that simple act. Sometimes we think it always has to be a big parade, a big finale, like some massive event has to happen for something to occur, but this is simply a mountain shaking can cause enough damage. The king said to him, "What happened to your companions?" He said, "Allah has saved me from them." He again handed him to some of his courtiers and said, "Take him and carry him in a boat, and when you reach the middle of the sea, ask him to renounce his religion. If he does not renounce his religion, throw him into the water." Okay, so in the Italians, we have a saying, well, the Calabrians are different than the Sicilians, but it's the Sicilian East Coasters in America have a saying, the ones who are into that would say, "You sleep with the fishes." They would put cement. You go on a boat, they, get rid of you. They don't like you because, there's the ocean on that side, right? They would toss them and they would put, bricks, cement on them, or chain them and put a rock or something, and they would go down. And if you think about that, those people, they're like a lesson of is it an act? Who's the wrong one in that situation? Here, because then you can analyze their response to everything that's going on psychologically. So here, if you think about, if someone has you in the middle of the sea and they're telling you to renounce your faith, that's quite scary because they can toss you into the water. You can hold up for so long, and also there's things in the water that will find you pretty juicy. So it's quite scary. It's a lot of pressure that a lot of people think they could handle until it's really done to them, right? Now, this is like almost like a testing. It makes you really wonder, if someone put you in the middle of the boat and tried to do that to you, how would you respond? And what dynamic ways could you respond to kind of escape? You can see why, these hadiths are really cool to think about and read, because they make you think.